And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another game in today's series. We are moving on to our fourth game of the day between TSM Academy versus FlyQuest Academy. Starting off with our team on the red side, FlyQuest coming in 3-1 so far after just 2 weeks of playing. They are one of the Academy teams that we have been looking at to see just how good they can get. And for me personally, I am in love with Tomo.
Well, when you get so much resources and help from your squad, you do get to be very explosive as a champion. You have failures and whatnot, but a big part of FlyQuest's strength, I think, has been the fact that Triple and the NXI and Kumo have been playing fairly well, and I think that the mid lane jungle is just a really strong combination right now. Triple was one of the stronger mid laners last year in Academy. I think he's maintained that status here, and their match against CLG last week, well, when you're taking the Elder fight and you already have the Mountain Soul, it gets to be pretty easy to take these wins.
Yeah, just look at this team fight played by FlyQuest on the screen for you, ladies and gentlemen. Kumo playing that front line, Triple not allowing anyone to get onto Tomo either, so it's everyone playing their part in these fights perfectly there, and that's kind of something that FlyQuest has really been good at doing, is they've been able to know their win conditions and play around them, especially around this Aphelios pick that they've been putting so much priority on the bottom side of the map. They've picked up Aphelios Thresh 2 times already, and we can just see how much work they're able to do with it. This Victor, Triple, as you said, also putting in work. Triple, when the team needs him most, he shows up.
Well, the Aphelios right now is just a nutty pick with the itemization. Kraken Slayer Hurricane is a very high damage build, so you can count on him to be a late game monster. So all the damage issues that we have seen today don't happen when you have the Aphelios, but the FlyQuest lineup isn't just relying on him. He's happening to catch a lot of farm, and they're able to gift it to him, but you see that Triple, again, a big threat, like you were saying. We saw he's got a good champion pool. I think Victor is a very relevant champion right now. Not a lot of people are capable of playing him, but he's still got it. Has the Azir, which got buffed and is his favorite pick. And typically, in Academy, players love playing their favorite champion. So I'm looking at Azir priority now from Triple just because of the buff.
Yeah, and I mean, Azir is another one of those great champions, like you mentioned, just got buffed, super powerful. I'm curious to see how they're going to be able to play around the top side of this map in particular. I would love to see Aphelios just being banned off the table by TSM here. And speaking of TSM, they're in a little bit of a more rough spot themselves. They are sitting at 1-3 in the standings. Got a couple of recognizable teams on the TSM roster as well. Hanser and Cody-san in there trying to help out these newer players in Babip, Sword, and Fizzy, or Sword actually moving over from OCE. So it's going to be interesting to see how are they going to be able to try and bring their synergy together as we're moving into the later stages of this Academy season.
They have a very young mid laner who they're really counting on, and because of that, I'd like to see TSM index more on Hanser. I love that they've been giving him Renekton, but giving him more of that, giving him the agency to make the moves like what we saw out of Darshan in the last match, I think would be a really good thing, because in these Academy games where the compositions are really a few veterans and some new players, the veterans really need to be given the tools to be able to have pop-off games. So if Hanser can be afforded more of that, I have full confidence that he'll be able to get some leads into the laning phase and maybe not translate them into team fights, but at least to be relevant with pressure.
Yeah, and last week TSM had a really rough game. It went out to 40 minutes as we're watching it on the screen in 100 Thieves. It felt like TSM were kind of in the lead the majority of the game, and suddenly it blows up. 100 Thieves turn it around, and this game just suddenly ends the opposite way, and TSM take a loss there. So I'm also looking to see, are they going to be able to bring their mental back this week, because taking that kind of a loss is very difficult for anyone. Even like LCS pros hate seeing it, and even these Academy players, when you're trying to prove yourself, trying to improve and push yourself to be the best player you can be, having these games that stall out so long that feel like they're in your favor up until they're not are really tough.
I mean, you talk about the mental game, and it seems silly to think that this affects people, but it does, and it's the score line that you end up having. So right now 1-3 is almost the lowest you can go before you start to lose confidence in your ability to climb back to the top of the standings, because 1-3 can easily turn into 2-3, which is really not bad. Then you get 3-3 and you're all fine, but 1-4, nah, 1 and 4 star, like that is actually you have your feet in the mud, you're not getting out, and if you do, you're definitely not going to the top. So the 1 and 4 deficit is, I think, a loss that cannot be afforded if these teams have hopes of climbing to the top of the standings.
Yeah, and versus FlyQuest Academy today, that's going to be a very difficult feat for TSM. I do want to remind the audience at home that this is a very short Academy season as well. So that 1 and 4, we're crossing over that weird gap between not quite halfway done with the season with just over halfway done with the season, because there's only going to be 9 games total, 5 weeks of games. So today is that day where we are crossing over that 50% mark of the season for all these teams. And when you're going into the second half, I guess you can say, of Academy Spring 2021, it's very difficult to go in at 1 and 4 and still think that you have a chance of making it out. So hopefully TSM is going to be able to kind of continue that earlier trend. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see Golden Guardians pick up a win and move on to 2 and 3, but maybe TSM will be the 3rd team today to be able to pick up. They're the final team sitting at 1 and 3 we're going to view today. So it should be an exciting series to see whether or not they're going to make themselves sit at the middle of the pack or they're going to still be towards the bottom.
And if they don't, then FlyQuest goes to the top of the pack. And we're like, great, FlyQuest is the team that we get to follow because they have been, I think, a little bit hyphier there. And NXI was a really exciting jungler for me last splits, just because he had a few sub games into Academy, just because Kenvi had been moved up. And so he was able to show off a really strong carry performance. And here, with the game is about farming, well, it fits right up his champion pool.
Yeah, and as we're going to be hopping into Champion Select in just a couple of seconds here, I'm curious to see whether either of these teams want to play the Moonstone bot lane that we've been getting a lot of in the past couple of games. It's not something we've seen out of either FlyQuest or TSM Academy so far, and Seraphine already banned off the table. Oh, I'm so happy. I don't want to see another Moonstone game.
Well, there's still Soraka Karma. There's still that other things, those other things that we've seen. So there are other ways to abuse these things. But Twisted Fate will also be removed, which I think is also nice. Personally, I'm really looking forward to one of these games to just be team fight versus team fight. We have not seen one of those matches yet today, and it's a bound to happen. It's just what people end up playing more often than not. And we're going to look at the bans, and your Aphelios call out does get answered. They're not going to let Tomo have that too many good games on him, but I'm sure he'll find some other AD to be relevant with. There, you've got Misfortune, you've got the Senna that is totally first pickable, and if not, there's always the Enchanters into the Lotto lane.
Yeah, there's still a lot of options for Tomo here. It looks like kind of just comfort picks outside of that Seraphine being taken away. Triple is not going to get his hands on those on that Azir either. So I saw my Aphelios ban. You saw your Azir ban. We're just calling everything out. Olaf, though, was left open and available. So there's still a lot of powerful junglers and top laners that are open. Camille, Udyr, Kai'Sa. We have some rapid fire picks coming in here, as with these comfort picks being banned out on red side, it means a lot of the OP picks that you would see typically banned away, guaranteed, are still up and available for either one of these teams.
And I think the priority in the Olaf versus the Udyr is that you win that matchup 1v1. Udyr doesn't really have an opportunity to beat you like that unless he's very fed. You're winning that. You can shred him through your E, and you don't get picked off. So he's a very good diving target, and now you have a Renekton to help you out. We have seen how powerful this combination is. It won't be taken advantage of in the laning phase since you don't have that AP jungler to combo with, but you do have diving buddies now, and these two with the Gore Drinkers, with the Sterak gauges, and maybe some more support from the bottom lane from FlyQuest can be a really deadly combo, as we already have top side of the map for FlyQuest locked in.
Yeah, top side of the map has been locked in. FlyQuest Academy, though, putting themselves in a position to get pinched in the bottom lane position. Kai'Sa was picked up by TSM. Their final pickup here for TSM Academy will be the Orianna, just kind of a safe pick. And while I do like what FlyQuest has picked up so far, rounding out their first rotation with this Victor, it does leave to ask, what are they going to go into the bot lane here? Thresh, another super easy to pick bottom lane pick for FlyQuest. Very safe, can engage, disengage, kind of does all of it for FlyQuest, and something they're comfortable on being taken off of the board here. And just kind of looking through the compositions already while we go through these bans, I like FlyQuest just a little bit more because you have a very early game top jungle and then immediately into a scaling mid that triple is extremely comfortable on, not allowing them to pinch this mid lane pool anymore.
Well, what FlyQuest has can really be helped by more engage because you do have diving buddies, but there is no way to start a fight right now. So champions like the Nautiluses, Bards, or just really anything that can start the fight for you is what you're looking for on the side of FlyQuest, because you don't have those supports to boost you anymore like the Seraphine. So I'd love to see just a big index and a lot of crowd control that can make a living hell out of the Orianna and the Kai'Sa. Picks like Nautilus are obviously very useful here, but we'll see though. We still have a big room for experimentation on the side of FlyQuest since they left both picks as a counter, and they might just go with Xayah Rakan? Really?
I would not like the Rakan here. The Xayah pick, I can understand trying to play safe when you have so much dive coming in from your top and jungle, but I actually really love the Rel pick here from TSM. They almost called out FlyQuest Academy saying, look, we know that you're going to have to play some kind of engaged support in the bottom side. And as we were talking about in the games earlier today, you want to play the Rel into a melee matchup. And with that, Rakan will be locked in alongside the Xayah. And I'm not sure how I feel about that pick, honestly. Yes, it's the engage you guys need, but is it the tank your team needs?
I like it. I don't think you need a tank. The Rakan can go in and die, not a big deal. We just need to get the party started. If he's dying every time, you're good. Remember the game where Bard was dying, where we're looking at Mystique? He kept getting picked off, but the fight was starting because they kept engaging on him. So if Dreams can do something like that, then I think we got a good lineup for FlyQuest. But the Rel Orianna combo, you are going into a ranged matchup in the bot lane, but I think they just want the synergy. We saw from the LCS, Core JJ and Jensen with the Rel flash ultimate into the Shockwave, which is just crazy deadly. I think that's what they're looking for. If they're on point, it's going to be really fun to watch.
Yeah, and on top of that, you got the Rel ultimate, the magnetic force, you got the shockwave, and now you have the cannon barrage and barrels available as well. Hauntzer locking in that gangplank as the final pickup for TSM Academy here as we get ready to hop into this game. It seems like we're kind of running across a trend here of a lot of team fight compositions and then a lot of scaling compositions being the counter pick up here. But we are going into the fourth game of the day. FlyQuest on the blue side, TSM on the red, and it's just going to be some 5-point standards across the board.
Okay, so because of our last interview in game, I have all my eyes on Hauntzer. What the heck is he thinking in level 1? Is he going to try to go for that cheese again in the brush? Because what we usually see on Gangplank in this matchup against the Renekton is that they'll start barrel, right? They'll put a barrel in the brush, and then Renekton will check, and then what they'll do is you auto the Renekton, get the burn, auto the barrel, it explodes, and you burn him again, and then you get your grass proc, and then you just start to win the lane once again. And watch what Hauntzer is doing, chilling in the brush, just waiting. And just like I suggested to Darshan, I was like, well, wouldn't the answer be for you to wait in the river brush and hope that he's not there? So I think Kumo might have sniffed that one out and is trying to avoid getting level 1 cheesed.
It looks like these LCS Academy teams. Oh, no.
What are you doing to him?
It's a little awkward. What up, Udyr? How's it going? She's just gonna have to walk around to that blue buff. It looks like the bottom lane for TSM Academy also not opting to leash that blue buff either, so they're not going to be pulling out the Team Liquid stats here. Instead, just going straight to the lane to try and get some priority. And we look top lane. Hauntzer did not go for any kind of early bush cheese there, or early bush advantage, I should say, as Darshan would prefer, but across the board, a little bit of trading back and forth, but nobody really getting any kind of level 1 advantages.
No, just a little cheeky harass early on, but FlyQuest is going to be happy about chunking down Fizzy since he's going to be the one to engage once again, and they're looking for maybe the Xayah, but she's never in range, so as long as Tomo does not get engaged upon, I think FlyQuest will be very happy to take these kinds of fights.
They will be happy to take these short trades indeed. Rakan can also get that passive shield stacked up for himself, so he will be looking to do a bit more of sustaining in this lane than the Rel. Rel also typically hard commits a little bit more than the Rakan. Once Dreams hits level 2 or 3, he's going to be able to do a bit more sustain, a bit more in and out of the fight. So once those level 2s are starting to hit, those level 3s are starting to hit across the board, we'll see how those trades start playing out afterwards, because it should be a lot of back and forth in the bottom lane since you have two engaged style supports.
Yeah, you certainly do. And now, though, the engaged style support is getting pushed in, right? He wants to crash the wave so that Rakan and Zaya have to reset it. And they're just about to. This would have been a great timing for Olaf to be down here for a gank. There's no vision, there's no nothing, and the wave is in front. Look at what TSM's thinking. It's like, yeah, this is very dangerous. Our jungler's in the top side. We don't have any vision. Should we be up here? And they're going to be playing with fire, but we see if FlyQuest wants to punish this, and that's NXI will definitely be down here, right? He's going for this. Wait, no? He bases? All right. Okay.
All right,
I guess not.
Okay, FlyQuest, I see you just going for the hard farm instead of committing. He didn't even bother to take the bottom lane scuttle crab either, which is the part that shocks me more. That's going to mean that Babip is going to be able to make the river-to-river rotation here, double scuttle on his opponent. So already this Udyr starting off fairly nice, is going to be able to pick up so much extra EXP for himself is the big difference. Plus, the additional Visage will feel quite nice as well. Olaf is going to be sadly disappointed when he goes towards that top side of the river and found that he has been out-rotated, I suppose. But so far, a slow early game, just a little bit of macro decisions in the jungle, creating a 300 gold difference.
NXI should not even path top. He should know that Udyr double crabbed him because he pathed through mid from top side. So he should just continue to power farm. It's not the end of the world for you to lose the double crabs as long as you start to get an advantage elsewhere. And he is trying to get that advantage by getting these jungle camps. But look at where Babip is already at. He's just lagging behind him in the camps, right? Olaf just finished Gromp. Udyr just finished Gromp right now and is starting to go onto the Wolf. So the advantage that Udyr has is slight, but he can transition this to a play a few seconds ahead of Olaf. We'll see if it matters in something like a counter gank or even first to try to solo the dragon.
We'll see what he's going to be able to do as Drake is spawning in about 10 seconds here. Meanwhile, bot lane, Fizzy goes in, trying to find the way onto Dreams. The Kaisa passive so close to proccing, but is not going to be able to find it. Cody-san does not commit an extra auto attack into either Dreams or Tomo there, so Fizzy losing a majority of his health, sitting at about 250 left, and I feel like that trade could have gone just slightly better for TSM, considering they're the ones that forced that engage. Now NXI showing on the bottom side of the map. He does have the inside track towards this Drake since Udyr is on the top side.
Okay, and the crab just died, so he feels confident in going for this dragon now because you've got Fryo in the mid lane with Triple who just based and refreshed his items against Sword, and then you've got FLYA's bot lane who just got a flash out of the rel. So they're totally fine with CSing here, and we see, well, what was Babip do in this time? Well, he gets vision in the top side, and he now gets to go back to his Krugs. It's not to say that this vision in the top side is meaningless, because Hanser is obliterating Kumo. I mean, this is a giant lead. It wasn't the cheese that we saw from, I'll try not to call it a cheese anyways, but it wasn't what Darshan did level 1 in the previous game, but he still has a big fat gold lead and a lot of vision to protect him. Double control wards for this gangplank, so unless Olaf blast cones over through the lane or goes through mid lane, they're not punishing Hanser.
It's a strong side advantage play for level 1 is what we'll call it on the top side of the map. But it is going to mean the first Drake of the game picked up by FlyQuest here. It was a Mountain Drake, not that important for the early stages of the game, but the extra magic resistance and armor later on, once you've had quite a bit of resistance in the stack, will feel quite nice. Both supports holding hands as they walk into the mid lane here, and neither one of them is going to go for an engage, seeing as how they could see each other in broad daylight. So a little bit of a rotation by both supports as both AD carries continue to farm this one up. We're 7 minutes into this game here, and it's a slow start so far. Babip trying his best to continue his jungle advantage here, as he is now sitting about 10 CS up and is pressuring this top side of the map, taking away Olaf's top half of the jungle.
Oh, is he gonna go for the blast cone play? No, he's actually just here to defend? What?
Yeah, Kumo committing the entire ultimate as well, and
no.
Hanser just drops Cannon Barrage and walks away slowly from this one. No summoner spells forced. He also knew that he had Babip on the top half of the map, so if they overcommitted, Udyr would be there in a hurry, and so a great job by FlyQuest and TSM to neither one of these teams overextending for a kill or a trade here.
Dude, that was huge, because Babip was just bodying NXI that whole time. He took Gromp, he took Blue, he didn't even check the brush for the control ward, so Olaf is still with his blue side warded. and now Bobby gets a path to his own blue side, end up in the bot side to help his lane, and if he wants to, he can give blue up to Orianna and help her out, and engage from NX bot lane.
Ooh, bottom side, Fizzy gets engaged on. It's going to be Toma that's putting in so much work here. This is the AD carry to watch, as we mentioned before. Cody-san is going to take a huge blade call, and he's going to be dropping down extremely low, but no! Tomo barely keeps himself alive. Fizzy now has to dash away from the re-engage from Dreams, afraid for his life. Babip, unfortunately, not showing up in time, but it is Dreams that picks up first blood for FlyQuest.
That engage was so close, and we knew that something was going to happen into the bottom lane. When Dreams and Fizzy are just fishing for and engage onto each other, it's just a matter of time until one gets the right call, and it's barely worked out for FlyQuest when the AD flashes in and is not able to get the last hit on the AD. So TSM do lose a kill down there, but they still have an incredible top side right now. I mean, the advantage that they have from these two champions is just phenomenal. It is so big. They're actually going to lane swap and see if they can get a Herald out of that, because they're thinking, we should just take a fight with these guys. They're so strong.
Yeah, they should take a fight for sure. Something I want to point out in that last fight is that Tomo was level 6 and nobody else in that fight was. Dreams wasn't, Cody-san and Fizzy were not level 6 as well. So having access to that ultimate was huge for him. You saw the amount of damage that he was able to get with the Blade Caller there onto Cody-san, and really making a big difference. But Rift Herald will be started up by TSM here as they're clearing out some ward coverage. Babip has managed to get into the back of the pit, so I'm not even sure if FlyQuest know it's been started. Now that the bottom laners have rotated from the top lane, they will have a pretty good idea what's going on in that top pit, but the rest of FlyQuest is here to respond. We might see finally an early game 5v5. The Herald is resetting here. Neither team has pulled the trigger just quite yet, and instead FlyQuest say, we've got you to disengage. We can back away and start this one up ourselves, and who is going to make the first move here?
This is not a good idea. This is not a good idea. You gotta back off. Fighting 5v5 right now is gonna get you killed. There's more advantages to be had in other parts of the map. So Hanser leaves and starts to go to the mid lane, but it looks like everybody's still committed. They cannot get away from Shelly. She is too attractive. Her smell is alluring. And now the fight is about to start because Kaisa is still in the top side. And here's Rel. Okay.
Oh, okay, Fizzy.
Not level 6.
That was a flash for sure that comes in over the wall. They're not level 6, but that's going to be the engage. Fizzy goes forward. It's going to be immediately Babip is blown up as NXI is able to find that one. Redacted is able to find up a second kill. And just as quickly as the team fight starts, the team fight ends, and it is FlyQuest that find too.
You know, I really wished sometimes that you'd be able to be heard as a commentator through the screen, because all I wanted to yell is like, this is not a good idea. It is almost never a good idea to fight 5v5 at Rift Herald, especially if it takes that long to take the fight. If you instantly engage, it's fine, but remember that Rift Herald is simply a potential advantage. It doesn't actually get you anything by itself. So a great engage from the Rakan. Yes, he gets bear slapped and doesn't get out right away. And yes, Orianna combos with Rel without her ultimate, but they just don't have the damage right now. FlyQuest was quicker to the punch and got a big reward for it.
Yeah, and I was mentioning earlier the level gap in the bottom lane for FlyQuest here. Tomo started that fight at level 7 and Fizzy only level 5. Now Tomo level 8, Cody-san and Fizzy being level 7 and 6 respectively. So Tomo has been putting in some work when it comes to absorbing waves and EXP for himself here, and he is getting quite a lot of advantage for himself. Essence Reaver completed on him already compared to just the Noon Quiver and Serrated Dirk for Cody-san. So just trying to rush the Q upgrades, trying to get the Catherine Rain upgraded for Cody-san as quickly as possible, but it's not going to be quite available, and because of that, they lose a couple of kills, they lose the Rift Herald, and now the second Drake also picked up by FlyQuest. They are starting to roll a lot of these advantages into their favor.
They really are, and with this lane swap, it has made it harder for Hanser to continue to gain these advantages onto the top side. There's not been enough laning for him to continue to grow this lead, and so Kumo has been helped by that Rift Herald fight, which was an unexpected consequence for committing so many members to that top lane Herald fight.
Yeah, Fizzy Given over the extra resistances to Babip, I'm not sure if that is visible to Tomo and whether or not he backed off because he could see that. So a little bit of a tail there from the side of TSM, trying to get the 3 people to deal with Desire, who is continuing to just solo lane. Level 9 now. Tomo is putting in work, getting so many levels, and Kumo, as you said, doing a better job of being able to absorb those waves, absorb the pressure on the bottom side of the map. And now that we're starting to get towards this middle portion of the game, it's going to be interesting to see how is FlyQuest going to be able to transition a lot of these level experiences and a lot of these goal differences that they're starting to slowly accrue for themselves into this mid game. Rift Herald being one of them that they're going to drop and just give over some extra gold to Triple.
Yeah, and Triple is a great place for you to give the gold over, because as we just saw from the gracious observers, the gold advantage that FlyQuest has is entirely in mid and bot. The top lane is where TSM is winning, as we had pointed out earlier, and we can clearly see from the CS, but it's the carries on the side of FlyQuest that are getting all the gold that it should be played towards. So as long as Triple can be very fed, he's going to have a really good time just comboing his ultimate into the engage from Renekton and Olaf. So Rakan goes in, just as we saw. Renekton and Olaf try to follow up, but now you have a Victor ultimate to back that up, and that is a huge spell when it comes to having not only a mixed damage, but an upfront burst that forces TSM to move away from you.
Yeah, and we've talked about Triple during the Champions Select and how he loves these late game scaling mid laners, and when you're giving over those turret platings onto the likes of this Victor, as you were saying, Zone is a scaling pick here, and we haven't really talked about the mid lane yet because he's just been playing so passively, and he's keeping up in farm versus sword. He's kept himself alive, picked up 2 assists for himself. So far, Triple, one of those win conditions we haven't really had a chance to talk about yet, but once this game, if this game goes late, you already have an advantage for FlyQuest on your top side of the map in your 80 or in your 80 carries as well. And you know, Renekton is starting to deal with the pressure that he's been given this entire game, but Victor comes online eventually, and once that happens, Cody's son isn't going to be able to deal with him. Sword isn't going to be able to deal with him. It's up to this Gangplank to be able to deal with Victor, and it's just 2 ranged late game scaling picks trying to see who can find their abilities onto their opponent first.
I think part of the strength that Victor has as a mid lane pick is that his burst can be so quick to be used that even if you pick him off, there's a good chance he can get all his spells off before he dies. And so it's a very difficult target to commit for, because he's always getting some value that remains and persists throughout the fight. So drops the gravity field, the ultimate, all these are abilities that persist after his death. So you have to really be careful about if you go against the Victor. So you have to one-shot him before he can react. You have the tools to do so, but can you actually get in range of him? It's been very difficult for them thus far, but now it's the only time that Fizzy has had an opportunity to fight at level 6. With level 6, we've seen what players like Ayla or Core JJ have been doing with Rel from the side of Team Liquid and the Team Liquid Academy. So if Fizzy has been watching those 2 players, he should know how to get the best engages out of this champion.
Team Liquid and amazing engaged supports. Name a better duo. You can't. I'll wait. But we are waiting to see what Fizzy's going to be able to do now that he has access to that ultimate ability. It's been some wave clearing back and forth by both of these teams. I do like to see them playing this a little bit slower, not fighting unnecessarily on the side of TSM, though they do seem to be looking for picks where they can. FlyQuest not giving them an opportunity, though, as Dragon is going to be spawning in about 20 seconds here. TSM is already rotating over. They want to try and find an inside track to this one and slow down the role that FlyQuest has developed for themselves. They are still fairly even in gold because of the differences they formed on the top side of the map. Their jungler also is a level up, so if it comes down to a 50-50 smite fight, they will have a slightly easier time. Maybe it's a 60-40, considering that, you know, Babib still has to get into the pit here, but Dragon will be started up by FlyQuest, and now it is up to TSM to try and engage on this one. 5 members doing this one. It's going to drop down 4,000. Where is the engage from TSM? Babib on the backside of this one. They have to force him away from this one. They bought enough time. The Dragon is going to reset. Babib is now in the Dragon Pit, so TSM with the inside track here.
Okay, now they still know that the Rel is down there. She's drawing Dragon aggro and being very low, so I think Fly is partially okay with this. They got the Skull Crab to take this fight, but they don't have that control ward anymore. You just gotta watch out for Fizzy. He is the main target. Can NXI steal it? No.
Smite coming in by Baba. That's going to be finished off. The Ragnarok is popped as well, and it's Fizzy trying to buy as much time in the backline as he can. And his Gangplank Haunter that puts in so much work. Tomo dropping down extremely low, and he finally goes down to the hands of Cody's son. And now it is Kumo who finishes off Cody's son, and he's going to be backing away towards the mid lane. At the end of the day, it is a 2-for-2. Both bot laners traded off, but the Dragon was secured by TSM, so advantage to the red side team.
Finally, we get the team fights that we want to see. 5-on-5, very explosive, and it looked like the initial engage from Rel and Orianna were going to be whiffed. The combo really didn't do a whole lot, but the funny thing to me was Codyson flying in because it looked sick, right? Everybody's low. Kaisa is strong. He's got the Gale Force, all summoners. He's like, dang, there goes Cody. He's going to pop off, gets insta-get. Very, very comical there. It's reminiscent of Vayne spotting, but with Kaisa.
Yeah, personally, when Kaisa came out, started referring to it as void spotting, but, you know, we're going to go over this replay one more time here, and we can
watch
see
Cody, right? Bam.
You hate to see it. You hate to see it, but...
So, yeah. He was really unlucky, though, because at the same time he went in was when Xayah activated Feather Collar, so that really increased the burst.
Yeah,
we gotta pause. As you can see, our faces are here and not a game.
Hi, welcome back. We're here. We do have a pause. It sounds like the TSM mid laner was having a bit of an issue with not being able to use his abilities, so we are working on that for you guys right now. But taking a look at that last team fight, as you were saying, yeah, the Blade Collar was used at ironically the perfect time. I'm sure it wasn't intended by Tomo, but it worked out perfectly. As I was trying to say, when Kaisa came out, it kind of has that very similar playstyle to Vayne does in terms of you got an on-hit passive where it does percentage health damage and you're short range with a lot of mobility and ability to pick somebody off if you have potential. So instead of calling it Vayne spotting, I started calling it void spotting because Kaisa's a void champion. So it's a little bit of an adaptation. I personally love these like short range, very explosive style AD carries though. I think that they're the most exciting to watch just because while there's void spotting, there's also the most potential to see the biggest pop-offs from these style of champions.
And I mean, she has been very popular to combo with her face diving. If you remember, I believe it was 2019 Worlds where the Kaisa Kale combination was starting to really take off, where Kaisa purposely jumps into 5 people, but now has a Kale ultimate on top of her. So you're stuck thinking, should we focus her? Should we run away? Because both are bad options.
What do we do here? Can't kill her, can't run away from her either. So it's a bit of a tough pickle to be caught in. Fortunately, Kale has kind of dropped out of the meta. I remember last year when Kale was just so strong, there was a period of time where his pick or ban 100% in pro play, and if it got through, it was almost an automatic lose in 40-minute stall out games. But fortunately, she's not here. Instead, Kaisa forced to kind of play these team fights by herself, or at least with the help of some CC from her teammates. And it looks like we do have the issue has been fixed up, so we will hopefully get back into the game for you guys shortly, but we are giving ourselves some time for competitive integrity to build up a bit of a delay before we hop back into this one.
I personally just enjoy watching our faces and not League of Legends, but there might be some who prefer otherwise.
I mean, we're both some pretty handsome dudes here, so we'll grace the audience with our own presence here, I suppose. Stop. You flatter me. We just got a word back from production. We're about a minute out before we get back into this one. But as we start continuing forward with this one, it seems like TSM versus FlyQuest. It was FlyQuest early. TSM after that fight, I'm not so sure how I'm feeling about TSM going into the rest of this game. So do you have an idea of what you're expecting out of both of these teams as we get prepared to go back in?
I think TSM just needs to sharpen up their execution, tighten it up. They had the combo there, it just didn't work out. You don't really know if it was what was the pause reasoning, if it had to do with that last team fight, but it doesn't seem like it. And so if they just get a better engage with the Rel and the Orianna, you can really see what they're trying to go for, because I think had that Feather Collar not been activated at that same time, he would have been able to not only get at least 1 kill, but flash out and get another. So I think it's a good play, just a little bit better execution, and it's going to look a lot cleaner.
Yeah, like you said, that blade caller really is the unfortunate determiner of how that team fight went, because if Kaisa had been able to keep going, we would have seen a lot more from TSM there. I'm excited to see how they're going to be able to continue this fight. I'm keeping my eyes on Fizzy as well, just because I haven't seen as much of Rel as I would hope to see. Both in LCS and in solo queue, personally. I think the champion is really underrated just because her late game can be so tanky and so annoying to deal with her ability to kind of CC everyone and survive those fights, especially when paired with the likes of a Kaisa who can dash into the backline and continue to extend Rel's CC.
Yeah, extend her CC, and then you've got the Orianna as well, which is lovely. And I just like seeing how Rel has become very popular, because it's easy for us to see where she fits into the archetypes that supports fall under. She's really not a Thresh, really not a Seraphine. She's totally like Alistar and Leona, in that if you think you are getting close to her or engaging on her, she just turns on you. So you really need to think twice about engaging onto the Rel because of her crazy ability to turn. It's almost like you see a Malphite, hey guys, Malphite is caught, let's just go after him. Like, yeah, well, he's gonna turn.
Call an ambulance, but not for me. Rel says, turns it around on you every single time and is able to provide that CC for her team. And it's always surprising because it's the same idea with Alistar as well, and the fact that Rel is one of those deceptively really tanky champions, in my opinion, where like you don't realize just how much of a beating they can take until you're like, oh, we've caught Rel out, and then she does the whole turnaround thing, and you're like, I thought we would have killed her a lot faster than that, but it didn't quite happen. So now we lost 4 members and they got Baron for it. So we are going to be hopping back into this game in just a second here. As a reminder for our audience, Dragon was just picked up by TSM here off the back of that fight. So we're hopping back into this one. Herald looks like to be the next objective for TSM.
Yeah, it's a big objective now, though. It's 18 minutes into the game. Don't mind that. Sword is definitely in the game. Yeah, 18 minutes though, but this Herald won't be rushed for. I think that when you get to this stage where Rift Herald is up at around 18:30, teams know you have about a minute 20 max, like that's cutting it close, to actually take the Herald before Baron spawns and kills off Shelly. So it's just not enough time to get the right setup, to get the lane assignment if you have done none of the pre-work. So I think this Herald will just be forgotten, and we will move on to the Baron stage of the game.
The Baron stage of the game is everyone's favorite stage of the game. It's the one most well known, as that buff has been around since the start of League of Legends. We are going to see if TSM are going to try and maybe rush the Herald. I don't think so. I think they're just looking for some early ward coverage around the Baron. As you mentioned, they're not going to have enough time in order to burn that one down in the next 30 seconds or so. Instead, looking for that ward coverage, maybe looking for a play around this mid lane. First brick has been picked up on the top and bottom side of the map. 1 turret apiece for both of these teams here, and it's a fairly standard slow portion of this game, as Dragon is still not up for another 2 minutes and 45 seconds. And I'm expecting to see both these teams kind of just farm out waves and look for ward coverage advantages wherever they can.
Ooh, they're just barely able to get the Rift Herald. Look at that in the top side. Olaf and Victor were 2-manning it. They have a few more seconds to get it. I think if they committed now, they definitely did it because they are getting it. And yeah, just barely in the nick of time.
You love to see it. I love to see those kind of like last second heralds.
Pick it up. Pick it up.
NXI? NXI?
Hello?
NXI?
Why did you do any of that?
I'm so confused now. Did they just forget that you have to grab it? Did they want somebody else to come down and grab it? It's...
no! Why? Okay.
It's either the biggest mistake FlyQuest has made in a hot minute, or the biggest disrespect to say that we don't even need to completely capture the Rift Herald there in order to be able to finish out this game. But it's a waste of objective and a waste of time in order to pick up the Rift Herald, kill it, and not even grab the eye. So you know NXI, once he realizes what has happened, is going to be kicking himself in the butt a little hard there. So unfortunate circumstances for FlyQuest, but it's not the end of the world. Second Rift Herald has never been the biggest contested objective, just because it doesn't get you plates, it doesn't inherently get you extra gold. So, at most, it would have been used to break mid lane outer turret here.
There was another use that we saw today that we didn't really touch upon in the cast, but remember when Darshan was split pushing into the bottom lane? During one of those pushes, Churnfire had popped the Rift Herald in the bot lane while a team fight was going on, and that Rift Herald secured 2 tower charges. So that was a big deal in helping the split pushing effort along. So that kind of Rift Herald that maybe, you know, you just pop in a lane and suddenly, oh, guess what? We won the team fight. That can get you a free turret. A little bit more than that, some gold, some map pressure. Maybe you even deny some waves to the opponent. So I always think there is some value to be gained from it. Maybe it's not plates, but you committed the effort. You thought that you could do something with it. You just didn't execute it fully.
Yeah, and you do love to see just how creative these teams get with the Rift Herald, because there are theoretically a lot of ways to be able to deal with it. You can rush it down with a full 5-man after a team fight. You can use it to pick off a low turret, or you can use it to help with split push, as you mentioned here. Teleport was committed by Hunter on the bottom side of the map. The streams go forward. That's going to be the Flash and the ultimate engaged here. Now it is Fizzy that is re-engaging. That's the counter engage you want to see, Oliver. That's the 3-man shockwave coming in by Sword. Hunter finds 1. Babbitt finds 2. Fortunately for NXI, he's able to find a kill of his own, and Cody Saunders is going to be dropping down extremely low. It is going to be Triple that finds that one, but he sacrifices his life for that play, and now it is just the bruiser duo of FlyQuest that are trying to redeem this fight for the rest of FlyQuest. And TSM, they don't have the AD carry, they don't have Sword, they don't have the damage anymore, and it looked like such a strong start to that fight for TSM, but FlyQuest turn it around. They lose 3, but pick up 4, and now they're going to be able to pick up a dragon.
Tell me crocodiles are not broken. No evolutions for millions of years and
They're
still
broken.
just bodying team fights here. Hanser is going to try to do something here, but we're going to see how FlyQuest try this because, yeah, great engage onto Cody, but where the heck is the follow-up? No one else can actually hit it. Well, Triple might have been able to flash ultimate right there, and that could have been good because he ends up committing the flash engage much later here. Then all you see is Kumo. All right, Kumo 1v4, dashes in. Guess what? It works. Now Triple flashes in. NXI is like, oh, Kumo, come on, man. We're 1v3. We can't do it. He's like, nah, dude. I am Renekton with Gore Drinker. I'm so fed. Please keep fighting. He's at full HP, man. This has been a full fight. He's full HP. These bruisers ended the fight without a supporting healers at full health. There is a problem with healing in the game.
Nerf healing 2021. I've been saying this since the preseason. Gore Drinker is busted. I remember playing on the PBE, and there was a bug on the PBE where when they nerfed Gore Drinker from 12 to 8%, there was a typo in the code where instead of 8%, it was 80% of missing health healing, and that was a terrible day on the PBE for myself personally, and it was basically the same thing as what modern day League of Legends is anyway. So you just heal for all of your missing health whenever you pop that Gore Drinker in the middle of these team fights. You have the Conqueror, you have the Empowered Q as well on this Renekton for Kumo. So he just has so much survivability on that Renekton pick, and he's sitting at 2-0-6, and despite the fact that he's been shoved in this entire game, that he's down in kills, down in CS, he still has a bounty for himself, and that's just how powerful this Renekton pick is and how much work he could do in team fights, at least during the early stages of this game.
There's just not enough burst to kill him. Right now, they need more damage on the Kai'Sa, and she got engaged on right away. And funnily enough, it seems like Kai'Sa is really struggling to take down these bruisers because it's not the first game of the day where Kai'Sa has been against these kinds of champions, but she really needs to proc her passive on these auto attacks to burn through them, and she just does not live long enough to get those procs off. And sometimes she gets a few, and then he pops Gore Drinker, and you're like, well, I guess that only helped him heal more. I guess I won't hit him anymore.
I suppose I don't get to fight you anymore.
Yeah.
The other thing I'm really looking at for the side of TSM Academy here is, like, we keep going on and on about how the healing is ridiculous on most of these teams throughout the day, but I haven't seen a whole lot of Grievous Wounds items being picked up. Like in the last game, I think Oblivion Orb was the 5th item, or the last item being picked up by the side of Cloud9. And then this game as well, there's absolutely no Grievous Wounds on the side of TSM, and we keep going on about how strong Gore Drinker is. There's the Conqueror on both of these, on both NXI and Kumo, and when you're facing these double sustained bruisers, you have to be picking up those Executioner's Callings, or else you're going to get those, or those Oblivion Orbs, or Bramble Vest, whatever you need, because you're going to get team fights exactly like that one, where you think you're winning it, and then all of a sudden, Gore Drinker ultimate out of Kumo, and suddenly he's just full health, and there's nothing you can do. Cody-san goes down, and you don't have anyone to deal with these bruisers anymore. So I want to see some Grievous Wounds items being picked up as well here, because you've got 2 items on everyone. Gangplank has 3. Why is there no Grievous Wounds here? It's an 800 gold commitment that could be doing so much work for the side of TSM.
And grievous wounds is one way to go about it, but I still think that it really won't be that big a deal. We heard from Mystiques again, healing reduction isn't even that strong. It's actually quite weak. The healing is way stronger now, so I think the way to do it is just through outplays, and you see how FlyQuest is trying to dive. What TSM needs to do is peel really far back, right? You need to just hard disengage. Just how we saw, I believe it was, the first game of the day where JJ was disengaging, playing Thresh duty constantly, and making sure that the engage never happened. That's what they have to go for. They have to make sure that when the dive happens on the side of FlyQuest, that everybody gets to focus Renekton and that there's nobody else, or the Olaf. And so if you can do this, there's a good chance of killing him, because if you don't have the healing reduction, you just need more focused fire.
Kite and force your opponents to overstep into your composition. It works well with Kai'Sa, it works well with the Gangplank, it works well with the Orianna, all these abilities to step back while still doing damage. But it is FlyQuest that are starting to pressure this fifth Drake of the game. They are on their third Drake though, and they are looking towards this soul point. It is an Ocean Soul. We have not had a chance to mention that yet, so even more sustain for the sustained top lane and jungle of FlyQuest. We're seeing this once again. And so TSM cannot afford to give this one over. An Oblivion Orb, as I was mentioning, has been picked up by Sword, so hopefully that can put in a little bit of work towards preventing this fight from going too far in favor in FlyQuest. It looks like Dreams almost committing to a fight there, but immediately backs off.
TSM does not have very good vision, so they have to group up to try to find this. But do they know that Kumo's here? He's face-checking Renekton!
Oh no, the Renekton is able to face-check into everybody, but now it is the rest of TSM that's able to follow up. The Victor doing a great job of putting it on the gravitational field and preventing the entire collapse from TSM there. But FlyQuest will have the inside track. They're going to burn down this dragon. This dragon's going to go down before TSM has the time to respond. Drake and Soul picked up for the side of FlyQuest, and they just back away. Cannon Barrage, they're trying to force here. TSM cannot afford to overforce this one, or else they're going to give over kills on top of the Dragon Soul. And look at this, FlyQuest, they say, check this bush, do it, we dare you. Dream goes over the wall. He's going to be able to find a knockup, but not much else in TSM. They think wisely otherwise and are able to back away from this one. They don't overforce, and now FlyQuest, they're heading towards the Baron.
They've seen that story too many times. Trying to engage onto the rail with flashes over the wall, that is insanity. But here is Kumo looking for a flank. Bobby has flash, so he can go for a steal, but I think FlyQuest just wants to take a fight. You have the Ocean Soul. If you can just live long enough and poke out TSM, you will win this. They don't have a lot of heal. Let's see if Bobby can pull off a miracle, though.
Yeah, that is going to be FlyQuest that's picked up this, starting up this Baron. Is dropped down below half health here. Bobbip was able to see the flank coming out from Kumo, as you mentioned. Are they going to be able to force this one? Fizzy is walked up completely alone, but they're trying to make their way onto triple on the backside of the fight. Fizzy is just buying time for the rest of their team. Are they going to be able to find anyone on FlyQuest here? No, TSM, they were not able to find triple. They were not able to find Dreams, and now NXI has come to back up the back line, and it is all FlyQuest. Nobody was picked off by TSM there, and now the side of FlyQuest, they find a fourth. It is just Cody-san left alive. He is going to be ran down by triple here. Will he be able to make it out alive? We will find out in just a second, but that should mean Baron picked up for the side of FlyQuest.
TSM commits multiple members to going after triple. It was actually Babib and Cody-san who flash and ultimate over a wall to go onto the triple, and the rest of the team was left isolated. I don't like this move. Victor had flash, had the stopwatch, and you have Sword and Fizzy. The Rel and Orianna with flashes available for a great engage. They weren't able to find it, and they lose the fight big time because of it. I think in hindsight, it's very difficult for TSM's support and mid lane to find the right engages, because these are the newer players on the team. These are the ones that you're supposed to bring up, and so you maybe put too much pressure on them to count on them to be your primary source of engage, and so this is maybe a lesson that TSM can take for the future matches. The unfortunate thing is that you learn the lesson at 1 and 4, which we already discussed at the beginning of the game, how difficult that was to get out of when the season is shorter now.
Yeah, it's a difficult position for TSM for sure. It doesn't feel like this game is not over yet, but it definitely feels like it is, because FlyQuest sitting on that Baron, sitting on that Ocean Soul for themselves. They've already struggled to kill NXI and Kumo, and I think one of the things I would have liked to see in that team fight is you already had triple zoned away, and with Fizzy going in here, he does get into the middle of everyone, but TSM, Concert and Sword are nowhere to be found in that fight. Cody Sun is committed on the bottom side, Fizzy is committed on the top side, but you have your top laner who's been the majority of your resources not really committing to any part of this fight. And if Cody Sun had just stuck around with the rest of TSM, had stuck around with his support, and said, hey, let's just commit to the full 4-on-4 here while Babbitt plays zone on triple, I think it would have been fine for TSM. It was just that dissync where you have your support going one way, your AD carry and jungler going another, that left the mid and top duo, your solo laners, stranded without anybody to really support what they wanted to do.
And in that situation, I think it's everybody's mistake. You know, you can always look back and say, hey, we should have done this one call. And you can kind of say that to justify that one person had the right idea and others did not. But at the end of the day, what you're judging yourself as a team is, are you coordinated? And they were not. So here's another attempt, but Rel Ultimate misses.
Yeah, Fizzy goes in and does not have the backup of the rest of TSM. The Shockwave is able to find Tomo on the backline, but Dreams is able to stopwatch it for himself. And look at Kumo just playing front side of this fight. He gets so many stats, so much healing coming in there with that ultimate, with the enraged culling, and so he's going to be able to just do so much work for his team. That is going to be two members of TSM picked off once again, and now they are looking to just end this one out. Baron empowered minions, they picked up the bot lane inhibitor, they're working on the first Nexus turret. Babbitt on the back side, is he going to be able to find any kind of engage here? Dreams is zoning him off here. The rest of FlyQuest is backing away. They want to focus out the suit here and not let him get any picks. They're trying to end this one out cleanly as possible here. Second Nexus turret hopefully will be the focus here by FlyQuest in just a second. It's going down. That cannon creep is putting in work. Instead, they will back off and look towards this mid lane inhibitor turret and get that second wave crashing in as well.
Much easier here. No need to overforce it when the Baron was about to die. Double inhibitor is already a winning position, especially mid and bottom when you've got the Elder Dragon spawning. They can just reset, grab the objective, and close this one out. FlyQuest gonna be at the top of the leaderboards in the Academy standings. 4-1 would be what they move up to if they win this game, and they are poised to do so.
And they are poised to do so for sure here. Ocean Soul still available. Elder Drake spawning in 45 seconds, as you mentioned. So they are looking to put themselves at a contesting point with Team Liquid and Immortals, which will be our next game coming up. But we still got to round this one out first. RTS, I'm going to be able to find a way onto this Elder Drake. They have found the inside drag towards the bottom side of the map. So they might be able to find this one, but FlyQuest is just so far ahead at this point. A 9k gold difference between these two teams. And hold on a second, FlyQuest might be just be looking to end here.
Well, the waves aren't just there yet, but with this one, TSM needs to recall and respect it. Rel is not there, and that's a ping onto her. Uh-oh, 3 members behind. We're gonna have a bit of an upside down fight. Look at Rel, she's flanking from behind. This is the last stand for TSM.
TSM has got to find their team fight here. That's going to be the cannon barrage. That's going to be the ultimate coming in from Fizzy. They're trying to find a good Orianna ult, but is not going to be able to find much, and there's just too much frontline from FlyQuest. The Ocean Drake, the healing, the sustain. Everyone is going to be committing their ultimates from that into that team fight from TSM, but nobody is going to be going down on the side of FlyQuest. Instead, they say, we will take that fight gladly as they finish off 4 members of TSM and finish off TSM in this game. They are moving on to 4-1.
And 2 members on the side of FlyQuest did not die. NXI and Kumo playing the Olaf and Renekton that were taken very early, just popping off. Kumo lost lane, but it didn't matter. He had a stellar team fight. I mean, his team fighting was just top notch. He knew the limits of his champion better than anybody else in that game and clearly pushed it to that level.
You gotta love the Wizard Lizard for the top side of the map, and now we see why it is banned so frequently. LPL, LCS, everywhere across the board. If you're not banning it, you're picking it, and that Gore Drinker alongside the Cold and Meek is just so powerful for Renekton in terms of sustain. They didn't even have a Moonstone Abuser in this game. They had a Xayah in the bottom lane, and still we saw Olaf and the Renekton surviving these team fights for just way too long.
Yeah. Tells us something about Renekton right now. Really seems like the pick that a lot of people are counting on. It's always getting strong, and as long as you know how to team fight, there's always one target that you just one-shot. I think that's the value that Renekton has. There's always someone you can pick on in the enemy composition, whether it's a squishy member or somebody that doesn't expect your incredible burst from your Fury stun. So this pick needs to be answered by other teams, whether it's by a ban focus or just picking it.
Yeah, and this game, it was Cody's son, unfortunately, that got the short end of the stick when it came to Renekton's focus. A little thing that people forget about, Cody's son had a really hard time diving this game, and he was looking for as many advantages as they could, but when he dives in, you have the empowered stun on Renekton. It gets rid of the Killer Instinct shield. It's a little thing that people forget about sometimes with the Renekton kit, and so not only is this Renekton pick great at just finding an AD carry in particular and killing them, but with Kai'Sa, it's even stronger because it gets rid of what Kai'Sa wants to do, this short range AD carry who wants to shield and kind of run in and out of the fight. Renekton just jumps on you, gets rid of your shield, and blows you up before there's anything that you can do.
Yeah, there is, and it's also a good look for Kumo, who usually is playing tanks or weak side, but seeing success on him on these carries, knowing, hey, this pick can be very useful against Cody, who's pretty good, who's got Kai'Sa, and like can burn his shields, is a step in the right direction for him, because I think that had Kumo lingered as a weak side player for this split that seems to be really about carries in the top side, or at least having very strong presence from that department, would have been a detriment to him. So now that he's got this under his belt, he can continue to work on these carries. I think that he'll have a more prosperous career.
Yeah, and one last point before we get ready for that interview and throw it over to a break. I do like to see that FlyQuest is still able to win a game with the Aphelios band here as well. Tomo showing up on the Xayah, he had some great ultimates into the Blade Callers here, and so he was able to put in a lot of work and keep himself alive. We don't give him enough credit for the amount of damage he did in this fight, in this game, because we were so busy looking at NXI and Kumo, but he stayed alive. He did his job as the AD carry, and Cody's son and the rest of TSM were doing everything they could to try and jump onto the Xayah, and they just never really made it work out. And so I'm glad to see that the bottom side of the map for FlyQuest is still able to pull out leads, still able to play so aggressively and find advantages for themselves, even when they're not playing the Aphelios and Thresh.
Yeah, but as long as you've got engaged, that's what matters. Rakan is finding the fight, so don't go the Enchantress. When you're in doubt, just pick something that can actually team fight or fight whenever you think there's an opportunity to do so, and it's a lot easier for you to punish the enemy. And we saw that so many times, right? Cody getting caught out by the Rakan was the opportunity that won them that dragon fight that let Kumo had an incredible one before.
Yeah, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to throw it over to a quick delay as we get set up for an interview with a winning member on the side of FlyQuest Academy. Do not go anywhere. We are wrapping up the 4th game of the day. We're heading into the 5th game of the day, and I think the game that we're both most excited for, Crumbs, it's going to be the undefeated Team Liquid versus the 3-1 Immortals. Our Team Liquid going to be able to keep up their winning streak so far and go undefeated now that they're finally being tested. Let's find out, but we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. we are back, ladies and gentlemen, as we're hopping into this interview from the winning NXI on the side of FlyQuest. The jungler showing up with that Olaf. He put in so much work that game, and I just want to welcome you to the cast, NXI. Thank you for joining us today, and congratulations on your win.
Hello.
Thank you.
I just want to ask you, after that victory, it looked like things were going a little bit shaky for like a very short time, but for the majority of this game, you guys had a very good grasp on the series. So I just want to ask you, what was it looking like for you? How were you feeling coming out of that game? Was this a confident game for you guys, or is this something that you guys are going to go back and look upon in the next couple of days and say, we could have done this better?
We definitely didn't play like to the best of our abilities. I think we messed up a lot, but I'm really happy we got the win against TSMA. Definitely gonna VOD review and look back, because I think there's a lot of things that I could have done better individually.
Then I want to ask you about one of those little things then, because I saw your manager tweeting out about this as well as we saw in game. What happened with the second Rift Herald?
We just decided we didn't need it to win.
Nice. Great answer.
Decided you didn't need it. All right, and with losing that second Rift Herald, it's unfortunate to see, but it was still a very exciting game for you guys to win here. Looking forward to the rest of the standings. You guys are sitting at the top at 4-1. You guys haven't had a chance to play off against Team Liquid, though, who is going to be coming up in this next game here. Are you guys afraid of fighting Team Liquid in the coming weeks, or are you guys confident that you're going to continue kind of rolling? Because you guys have been playing so well so far, and I love to see you guys sitting at that 4-1 spot. And I wanted to know, are you guys feeling confident moving forward, or are you guys taking it day by day, prepping for each opponent specifically?
We're just taking it day by day. I'm pretty not excited, but I think it's gonna be fun to verse TLA tomorrow. But we just like to focus on what's ahead of us, because we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves and think too far into the future. We'd rather just put all of our focus and attention into what's up next, so we can deal with that and then go on to the next thing. So not too much is on our plate.
I want to know a little bit about you personally, since I think a lot of fans are not familiar with you. You're very new to the scene, right? You just joined Team 100 Thieves last year. So what are you aiming for? Obviously, I feel like a lot of people want to go into LCS, into Academy, and taking it day by day, step by step. But is there a long-term plan that you're hoping to live through in League?
Well, long-term goals are to obviously win LCS, but I'm not really thinking about all that right now, because right now I'm just thinking about winning Academy and doing well for right now, because we definitely have a lot to improve on, and to not get complacent or too cocky, no matter what our record is. I want to just deal with Academy right now, and then if I do make LCS in the future, I can worry about that. But long term, I do want to win LCS, but for right now, I'm not really thinking too far ahead in the future.
That's fair. All your energy in the now.
Yeah.
Calm, cool, and collected, the way you got to be in order to try and find these wins. It's one step at a time, and I love to hear that you're taking it each opponent as they come and really staying focused on the goal, not getting too far ahead of yourselves. It's a great way to approach the game and a great way to approach life in general. So love to hear it, NXI. Thank you so much for joining us on the desk today, and congratulations once again on your win.
Thank you.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. With that, we're 4 games in. We got 1 game left. So, ladies and gentlemen, that means we have the game we have all been waiting for. The undefeated Team Liquid facing off versus arguably their hardest opponent yet based off of their lineup. So, Immortals 3-1, the Academy team to beat here. Are they going to be able to continue their undefeated run, or are Immortals going to show that even Team Liquid are immortal? We will see in just a few minutes, as we'll be right back.